we read papers and we try to figure out what they're saying. This is a book review by C.T. Nguyen, Games Agency as Art, by Jonathan Gingerich in the Philosophy Journal, the Journal of Philosophy. I will say, before we get in this, I have seen C.T. Nguyen speak. I saw him speak a few weeks ago in December. I like his stuff, so if I am being overly nice to C.T. Nguyen, call me out. I think like he's been a perennial favorite of all these streamers because he talks about things that matter to us, like in terms of Twitch and like this interactive game stuff. We really like him usually. Also, as always, we review this, so if you stick around to the end, you get to take part of a review. That goes up on a website, which I'm working on actively again now. And yeah, and I am not endorsing this, as always. YouTube and Twitch who ban me, or suspend me. I am not endorsing this. We are seeing what it says. They could just be wrong, and I will say so if that's the case. So, here we go. And as always, feel free to chime in along the way. Many of us take great pleasure in playing games and spend considerable time doing so. For many people who play games, playing provides a sort of pleasure that feels unique that other activities do not offer. At the same time, when we contemplate playing games, we can find ourselves in a state of mind from which games look like a waste of time. Playing games involves trying to do silly and pointless things like putting balls through hoops, moving wooden tokens around boards, and pretending to manipulate physical objects within entirely virtual digital environments. I mean, I broadcast to the internet via twitch.tv/NoGrayZero, whatever, I don't care. Don't talk to me about doing silly things. Section P, we can't review Luigi's Manifesto. Yeah, we really can't. Like, I'm sure, like, well, to be fair, only, YouTube banned me for reading manifestos. Twitch banned me for violating lewd behavior. So maybe we could do it on Twitch, but I don't want to risk it at this point. Seeing if, like, because, you know, for those who don't know, I was suspended on YouTube for reading the Unabomber manifesto. We roundly criticized it, but YouTube don't give a fuck. And it's like, how can you discuss things that are stupid and say they're stupid if you still get penalized for doing that? And so it's like, it's a problem. I mean, we have free speech in the US. Free speech only relates to what the US government prevents us from saying, not any of these independent platforms. And so that has, like, I just want everyone to know, it has nothing to do with free speech. It has everything to do with what we use the platforms for, and they don't want to deal with this shit. So, but like, talking about silly things, like there's certain things that even in the realm of silliness you can't do. There are games I saw many years ago. They were called called a serious games conference, and there were games where you had to be a domestic abuser, and it forced you to be a domestic abuser in order to progress at all in the game. Like, it became very clear that there was no way you could progress in the game without participating in virtual domestic abuse. And everyone freaked the fuck out, rightly so. And it was like, well, what is going on? Yeah, it is twisted. But like, that was part of the, and it was like really pixel arted. It wasn't like, 8-bit. It was like, well, maybe it was like 8-bit or like 6-bit pixel art. I don't even know. But like, it was really, you couldn't even see what was going on, but you understood. Like, you understood exactly what you were doing, given the context. And it fucked with people badly. Yeah. No, that was not Japanese. That was not a Japanese thing. This was well, for all I know, the developer was Japanese, but I'm pretty sure it was set in Western, non-Eastern, non-Japan, not China setting. So, yeah. So, the idea that we're doing pointless stuff, it's like, I know this is just the setup in the paper here, but the idea that this is pointless is like, that's not true, and we're going to get there. Yeah. Reminds K-Pars of Pathologic 1F. Got to make shitty decisions, but still have to make decisions. Yeah, I mean, that's what we've been talking about today. Like, some decisions are really bad, but you have to move forward one way or the other. Chaos Nick says, I did watch a funny video by a strongman guy about going into a bar in Tokyo full of muscular women where you pay for them to slap you and spin you around, funny stuff. Yeah, I just saw that in one of my other streams. They have a Twitch channel. You have a Twitch channel where they show women in that bar fucking like that stuff. Yeah. So like someone brought that up on another stream and they were like, "Oh yeah, there's a Twitch channel." And the guy was like, "Oh, really?" And like it's like, yeah, they have a Twitch channel. It's real. Stuff band was banned in several countries. Yeah, exactly. It's like not fun. So let me actually give him a shout out. He's one of my favorite streamers, the Daniel Matt. He's a fiction writer. He's a published author in fiction works. And so like if you want like chatty streams, he sits around talking. I left his stream on lurk earlier today. I went out, I came back, he was on the same fucking stream. It was 3.5 hours later. He hadn't moved. He had been sitting around playing The Last of Us Part 2 and like chatting and doing random shit, and he had not left the same scene. So it's like if you like to talk to people and just like hang out with chat, like it's not bad. Okay, Vipers, that's good good point to make. But yeah, like, so it's just like the playing games involves trying to do silly and pointless things. I know this is a setup, but like obviously these things matter. Okay. So, when I propose to a friend that we play a game, I might wonder, why is this a worthwhile way to spend our time? Philosophers have answered this question in a variety of ways. Thomas Herka and Gwen Bradford suggest that playing games is valuable because it is difficult and so provides players with a valuable opportunity for achievement. Others, such as Michael Sicart and myself, have claimed that playing games can be valuable because it can afford an experience of freedom or open-ended play that may not be readily available to in our ordinary life. C.T. Nguyen offers a novel and compelling answer to the question, in games, agency as art, that draws from a rich phenomenological account of gameplay and takes seriously the feeling of many players that games afford distinctive pleasures. Playing games, at least when we play them in a style that Nguyen calls striving play, provides a distinctive aesthetic experience of harmony. Yeah. Playing games brings out the beauty and grace of our actions because, unlike most of life, games are designed to elicit harmonious, graceful, and elegant choices and movements. I don't know if that's what C.T. Nguyen said. This is not exactly... I think this is already getting Nguyen wrong a little bit. Maybe I haven't read the full book. I've read articles in the past by him. I don't know if this is exactly what he means. The idea, I think, and I could be wrong, of course. Chaos says, I'm getting into climbing bouldering. It's kind of like a solitary semi-pointless game. The whole idea is a bit ludicrous, not to mention humbling, but it's fun. Okay, so C.T. Nguyen uses rock climbing. He rock climbs as a hobby exactly for this point, Chaos. He says it's the way you move, the challenge. The point of getting to the top of a mountain is like you could drive a car up there. The idea that you're climbing it completely, you wouldn't climb it if you actually wanted to get to the top. The point of going up is that you get to do this harmonious, graceful, and elegant choices and movements. That's like the exact example he's using. Yeah. Sockno says, yeah, when we do things we love, we enter tranquil experiences. Yeah, so there's the experiential thing you get out of it, and that's part of the striving. Like, so it was the striving play here. This is the big term as the author gives us, the striving play. The idea that you have to, like, you know, work hard to just get through the stuff, not get to the end. It's how you get there matters. This is the like one of the critical thoughts here. And so the idea that it's illicit, harmonious, graceful, and elegant, I mean, the idea, but again, striving, you have to work at it. It's not eliciting harmonious, graceful, and elegant choices, movements. It's forcing you into them. And so it's giving you a particular set of problems. And this is coming back from the theory he comes out of. You are taking on arbitrary problems in order that you get to do this stuff. Cass says, totally, I'm fairly experienced in combat martial arts as well as hiker, backpacker, traveler, but the skills are different, although transferable, and still trying to apply that mindset flow to journeying to it. But just because you can do one thing, really, it still means you can be a beginner again. Stuck on this one fucking step this problem. Yeah. Step of this problem I'm trying to climb at the moment. Yeah, exactly. So you can be a smart person. You can be really good at certain things. That don't mean you're good at everything. And I can guarantee you, if you spent all your time doing one thing, you will not be so good at doing other stuff because the skills ain't the same. It's like, this is my problem. I've got basically holes in my life. I'm really good at argumentation. I've spent way too much time worrying about this shit and I don't do other stuff. So it's like, well, other people can do other things. I can't. I'm just like, yeah, I just go worry about argument stuff. Yeah, Vipers is good at everything. That's great. Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's see where this author is going with this, because I can talk about this stuff, but let's see what the author has to say. In contrast to achievement play, in which we play to try to win, in striving play, we try to win so as to have the experience of playing. Yeah, so this is what we're talking about, the flow and the other stuff. Cass says, I think I never want to overcommit to one thing because the universe is too interesting. Once I get too good at it, I start to lose interest until the next thing is non-linear. Slash the next internal reason to keep playing that game. Yeah. So, but I mean, that's normal. We achieve what we set out to do, and then you have to find new challenges. That's normal. It's like, it'd be a problem if you never got good at anything. You just kind of got bored and moved on, and we're just kind of like never good at anything. But like, you get to where you want to be. You can like start to realize you don't want to have to like put the dedication in to get to the next level. You be like, I'm good enough at this for now. Let me go find something else to do. Okay. Striving play involves what Nguyen calls a motivational inversion of how we typically act. When we engage in striving play, our real objective is to engage in the process of experience of playing, but we temporarily put our real purposes out of our mind. And this is the thing that gets into the agency thing, where you take your real purposes put out of the mind and you take on some other purpose. Kind of reminds Chaos of how Nassim Taleb has written, the white-collar world is designed primarily for people who are good at tolerating boredom. Yeah. Well, you're really good at dealing with the problems of the way rich people make money. That's what white-collar is. And it's like, yes, if you're good at that, then you have to be really focused on certain problems, but like you can only be used in this sort of like machine if you are like you conform to the machine, and that's boring as fuck. Like, that's why I have a shitty job. I mean, my job pays crap. It's not shitty, it just pays absolutely terrible. But like, I don't want to have to deal with the bullshit, and it's like, yeah, like that is a choice on me. My family always gave me crap for it. It's like, why are you wasting all your time on philosophy? Why don't you get a fancy job? You're smart. I'm like, I hate fucking sitting around being bored all day. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's like, people trying to have more interesting stuff. And it's like, well, do you want to just go sit in an office? Who wants to go sit in an office? Okay, so we instead take on disposable ends, yeah. So these are things that we don't need to be doing. These are ends that phenomenally appear to us as final and that temporarily guide our practical reasoning, occupying the forefront of our mental awareness, but that we can easily shed without doing significant damage to our enduring value systems or core practical identities. Yeah, and so this is the interesting part we were talking about before, about games that make you do stupid shit, and you're like, can you actually get rid of those thoughts once you get out of the game? Cass says somehow you had this thing called morality as well, so that I didn't understand how some people could be proud of, say, working in a management and oil company or, say, Facebook. Ethics.atv. Yeah. Well, part of the issue is that some people's ethics are weird compared to other people's, and so they don't see it as immoral. They see it as, providing energy to the country so that we can have, like, all the cool stuff we have, and that's why you work at, like, an energy company, is because you are providing the raw materials that drive, like, the rest of our lives. You can make these things sound great if you want to. Yeah. If Pac-Man, yeah, exact, great quote. If Pac-Man had affected us as kids, we'd all be running around in dark rooms, munching pills, and listening to repetitive electronic music. Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, and of all places, Berlin, yeah, where they love that shit. Okay. So we're getting to the whole point. Adopting disposable ends in the context of striving play allows us to cultivate a sort of layered agency. And so this is why we read this one, because we wanted to talk about agency here, in which we temporarily experience a certain focused way of being an agent that involves focusing on ludic goals. That's game. Ludic is, I always forget this. I mean, it just means game. Ludic is game goals that are different from the goals we have that we focus on in our non-game lives. Of course, it's Europe. Unironically, there's a huge demand for ultra-repetitive techno, and people take it seriously. I thought they were fucking with you, but no, it's true, yeah. Ludology, yeah, study of games, chocolate. Yeah. So, I mean, it's like anything. If you understand what's going on, like the subtle differences mean a lot more to you. If it's not for you, then it all sounds the same. And so a lot of times you have to know a lot before it actually becomes something you're interested in. And then for the rest of us, we're just like, why do you listen to this droning music? All right. When we engage in this layered form of agency, we phenomenally submerge the ultimate reasons for actions so that we can have a more immersive, engaged experience of the in-game goals that we are temporarily pursuing, such as trying to get a ball through a little hoop. KS says, I need to gamify my lessons for this month. My topic is globalization and indigenous issues. This is for teaching English to new immigrants. A bit deep and heavy, anyone? Yeah. I mean, there's got to be some good things too. Like, there got to be. Like, I know certain, people in one country helped out other people in a different country because of, globalization. So, I mean, you could look at for some of the few success stories. But yeah, gamify it. Yeah, make it something more. Go set up some temporary goals and rewards for getting certain things done. It's like, yeah. There's loads of good things, just high-level abstraction for upper intermediate English learners. Yeah, well, get a nice story of it. So, nice story, narrative can help. Okay. Notice that the layered agency of striving play requires us to enact different ways of being an agent at different times, since if we genuinely engaged in striving play, we must at some point dispose of our disposable ends, at which point we are faced with an opportunity for agenda setting and reevaluation when we decide whether to keep trying to get the ball through the hoop, or whether instead to adopt a different disposable end, or to step back into the world of unlayered agency. Okay, so this is one of the, finer points that get me a little bit annoyed. There's no such thing as unlayered agency. There's no flat agency that you have. There is only the performative bullshit that you are at certain times doing one thing and at other times you're doing something else. There is no monolith of agency that is the you. You are going to have different yous at different times in some sense. Like when I'm at work, I'm sort of like work Noah. And when I'm here, I'm sort of like stream Noah. Now, to tell you the truth, I am very, very similar. I don't act out. I never like the idea of acting very differently. I'm pretty much the same all day. But there's still some differences. One of the funny things that happens, I tuck in my shirt when I'm at work. I look a little bit professional. And so one time I was at work, but it was after work hours. I was talking to some friends. I untuck my shirt. And my buddy goes, oh my God, you look completely different. I'm like, yeah, work Noah's done. Non-work Noah's here. It's I just untucked my shirt. He's like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah. It's but that's the whole point, is that agency is not a very obvious thing. You have different parts to you. Ogres are like onions. You've got layers, all right? You are like an ogre. You're Shrek. And you have layers, and the idea that there's a monolith that is the Shrek or that is you. Even you don't know all the things that you're doing while interacting with people. And so this is part of that. Structuring structures that structure. Exactly. The Superman of slackers. Exactly. Vipers. That's actually really what it was too. And he'd appreciate that framing of the experience. So it was just Like this guy, I swear to God, Vipers, like he wants to be like Jay and Silent Bob, like outside of a vending, out of like outside a convenience store, just hanging out or whatever. Like that is his goal in life, to just be like a guy that can like chill outside of a fucking convenience store. So, but my point here is that there is no singular agency. You are quite often performing different things at different times, and so the idea that you could perform in a game the same that you might perform at work, or be like at your home with your family, the way you act with kids, with the way you would act with friends, there's different things that you do, and it's like this is all part of your agency there. And so it's not like you are playing games is that different in terms of agency. Okay. It's not okay, so maybe we're going to get into that here. It's not only when we play games that we can have experiences of layered agency or disposable ends. When we enter a layered agency, for instance, whenever we play a role like an institutional, professional, or relational role, insofar as that role involves taking on ends that are distinct from our enduring central ends. Yeah, who knows what the fuck are our enduring central ends? Our enduring central ends is what? Like not die? Like what? I don't know. But games are special because they allow us to easily change what our disposable ends are. If I'm a lawyer, adopting the disposable end of zealously advocating for my client might be supported by weighty reasons concerning the administration of justice, so it might be difficult, unwise, or immoral to set the disposable end aside. But games can modify our disposable ends much more easily, simply by specifying certain objectives that we need to pursue to play and win at a game, such as try to move your token all the way across the board before the other players do. Together with rules that govern how those objectives can be pursued, a game can cause us to experience a certain focused way of being an agent for the duration of the game. Games are the art of agency because they manipulate our agency, prompting us to adopt disposable ends to create aesthetic experiences of agency. Okay, and this is the whole point, is why we read this paper as opposed to one of the other ones, is because this line from Nguyen, page 141, games are the art of agency. So they're trying to get you to have a certain goal-oriented experience where you have to act as an agent in under certain conditions in a certain game world, game board, whatever it is, to then pursue those ends and modify the way you are acting, your agency, to pursue those ends. So yeah. Games' ability to modify our disposable ends, and so to modify the sorts of agency that players experience, accounts for much of the aesthetic significance of games in Nguyen's view, and the aesthetic experience afforded by games explains why we might wish to spend our time playing them rather than on less pointless pursuits. Yes, part of it. He's going to go on. All right. Nguyen contends that in ordinary life, our abilities rarely suit the challenges we face. And this is fair. This is the whole point of corporate bullshit. Our abilities rarely suit the challenges we face. If you have a corporate job and you're trying not to be bored all day at work, that's not a good use of your time. You're not suited to be there. We experience discomfort and difficulty in life outside of games because we have inflexible values, like the values that we place on eating, finding romantic partners, and becoming professional philosophers. We often can realize such values only by undertaking tasks that we find grating or stultifying. Games provide an existential balm for our practical unease with the world. Yeah, so we've got angst, and so we play video games. Games can do this because they present us with tasks and obstacles that are right-sized for our capacities. That is, games are designed to make the experience of solving problems that they present feel pleasurable, satisfying, interesting, and beautiful. In the ordinary world, we might wish to discover a cure for cancer, but find that our intellectual capacities do not measure up to the task. In video games, to use Nguyen's example, players are provided with avatars that possess the abilities that they need to successfully navigate the obstacles that the game world presents to them. Games thus provide us with the aesthetic experience of harmony between our overall capacities and the demands of the practical environment in a way that ordinary life does not. Games are particularly good at providing this experience because much of the disharmony that we experience outside of games comes from the dizzying plurality of values that we must account for when we act in everyday life. And this is what we were talking about earlier. How do you make decisions under limited information? It's very hard, but in video games, you have to be given all the information to make good decisions in the video game. That's part of video game design, is giving you that the knowledge you need to complete the tasks. Games, in contrast, can make values clear and ensure that all players share the same values. For instance, by specifying for every player how to win. Yeah. So if you know, this is part of the overall story, is that winning conditions in video games tend to be very clear, and you are given all the information you need to know in order to win. Then after that, it becomes a skill issue. You have to get good, but you should have been taught in the tutorial how to play well so that you can get good and win. So that's part of what it is to be a game in this view, is that you are given all the tools to be able to complete the task. This is not the universe with Picard in it, where you can do everything right and still lose. Like this, that's the whole point of life for, under Jean-Luc Picard's view, is that you can do everything right and still lose. In video games, if you do everything right, you should win. And you are given those that ability. Okay, the experience of the harmonious fit of our capacities to our tasks is not the only value promoted by playing games. Nguyen argues that games also promote our autonomy by providing a library of agencies. Whenever we play a game, we take on a different practical mode, a narrowed practical focus associated with specific goals, like putting one's opponent in checkmate in chess. Unless you're playing a Bethesda game. Yeah, but then you could argue that those games suck. Yes, but people give Bethesda a lot of shit for that. So yeah, it's like, well, how do you actually? Yeah, I mean, if you had a specific example, Vipers, we could actually discuss it. Bethesda's games make you run around and do a lot of stupid shit. Okay, every practical mode is a different way that we might approach our agency, and games offer an easy way for us to try out these modes of agency. Because playing games and trying out these different ways of being an agent is easy, games are likely to expose us to a broader range of agential modes than we would be exposed to if we never played them. This enhances our autonomy because it allows us to develop a broader inventory of approaches for interacting with the world. Yeah, it was just a joke that they're buggy. Yeah, I figured it was, but there could have been examples. And so, you could play a JRPG or something, like a dating sim. You could play a dating sim and you could be some high schooler in Japan trying to date. I am not a high schooler in Japan. I am not trying to date high schoolers in Japan. But you could take on that role and try to be like a high schooler in Japan if you so chose. And then you could get a boyfriend, girlfriend, or they or whatever that you might be interested in. And so this is giving you certain ways of being in the world that you would not have otherwise. But yeah, it's you can try that out. Maybe that's what you want to be doing. While the experience of harmony and the promotion of autonomy that games offer give us good reason to play games, Nguyen argues that these games pose dangers too. Much of the literature on the moral dangers of games is focused on the representations of violence in games, especially video games here. Shake those fists, get off my lawn. Nguyen persuasively argues that the larger moral danger might lie in games inducing us to gamify parts of our lives outside of games. And Chaos is just maybe this is a dangerous thing. Maybe you do not want to gamify this stuff. The clarity of values that games offer us to generate the aesthetic experience of harmony that they promise might lead us to expect the clarity in life outside of games, where values are plural and difficult to commensurate. Yeah, I mean, the idea is, if you think you are going to be rewarded in the same way, things are just going to be easy like in a video game, you are not appreciating life for what life is. And so it's you're losing yourself in the fantasy. That's all this is saying. Games do not necessarily offer this experience of value clarity, but many do. In most games, it is easy to tell, for instance, if I have accumulated more points than my opponent, or if the ball has gone into the goal. That pleasurable sense of harmony that games can afford, and that Nguyen argues is often absent from our messy lives out of games. If we play a lot of games, we might come to expect this sort of clarity in non-game activities, and if this happens, we might be drawn to systems and institutions that closely resemble games, even if these systems are ethically inferior to systems that would require the use of subtler value systems. Yeah, and so you could imagine someone being tricked into like, okay, I will give you X, Y, Z if you do like these things that you can do. And it's bullshit. And so you're thinking, oh yeah, like a multi-level marketing scheme. I get these 3 people to sign up. I can do that. I will move up in the system. It's like you're gamifying your business life, but that's not how it works. You're actually participating in a multi-level marketing pyramid scheme. So it's like you think you're actually winning the system, but you're really just perpetuating a scam. Because if it was an actual business, it wouldn't be so clear. Okay. Although Nguyen thinks that the dangers associated with games value clarity are very serious, he is ultimately optimistic about striving play. You know, anyone can be fooled, like all of us. It's very easy to think, oh, I figured something out. You fantasize you got something right. But that's why it's a fantasy. Like, you have to be careful. Always. Like, this is not a new thing. Okay, this is because striving play can train us to extricate ourselves from our temporary agencies and to move easily and nimbly among different ways of engaging with the world. When we engage in striving play, we must practice moving back and forth between narrow and wider modes of agency. We take on disposable end and try to win to make the process of playing possible. But when the game ends, we shift back to the more general perspective. Perhaps when we do so, we will choose to play the same game again or a different game, but we must re-enter our wider agential mode, or at least long enough to make this decision. By its nature, then, striving play encourages us to wear our submersion in narrow modes of agency a little lightly. Developing this capacity can alleviate but not eliminate the danger that the narrow state of game might spread to other areas of our lives. Yeah, don't get delusional, basically. Like, you don't delude yourself into like everything's going to work out like your video game will. Because, well, of what Captain Picard said. Okay, so playing games in the mode of striving play is worthwhile because it often provides us with the aesthetic experience of harmony of our capacities with our goals, and enhances our agency by exposing us to a wider variety of agential modes than we might otherwise encounter. Playing games might lead to a disorder of our values if we should come to expect to find the sort of clarity of value and purpose that games offer in our non-game life. But the practice of striving play can also make us less likely to find ourselves stuck in the narrowed sort of agency that is associated with such clarity. You know, you have more experiences, games afford you more experiences, maybe that will give you more opportunity to see more possibilities in your daily life. Maybe. As the author understands Nguyen's argument, it relies on several important premises that, while plausible, are likely to be contested. Laying out some of these premises I hope, help further illuminate Nguyen's theory. One important premise for Nguyen's argument is that agency has a center or core that can be layered with subordinate temporary agencies while still controlling which sub-agencies we enter. Chocolate says games are much more automated than they used to be, I think. What do you mean by automated there? Like, there's video games and things happen in video games, but like there were always fantasy worlds like kids enacted. And like maybe you're not calling those automated, but there are rule systems. Now, the rule systems nowadays are way more sophisticated, but like a choose your own adventure book is kind of automated too. It's like, go to this page, go to that page. We've had choose your own adventure stories for a very long time. So what exactly do you mean by automated, and is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because I think it's actually a good thing because it allows for a much greater variety of games. So, question for you, Chocolate. Author is persuaded by Nguyen that there are many forms of desirable disunity in our agency, and that our agency is not one that needs to be perpetually bathed in the light of its guiding core. Yeah, see, I don't know what this core is. Like, I just deny that. I don't know what singular core of an agent you are. People like to think, oh, I have a personality, I'm like this person. But like, you know, I think a lot of that's performative. Like, I don't see that as like ontologically stable. Like, you are a person and you have different things you can do at different times. And like it gets held together, but like, is there any like hardcore like guiding core? I don't know. Like, you know, people are like, I have principles. I'm like, yeah, well, wait till you're hungry. Let's see how hard like you hold on to your principles when you're hungry. Okay, But must our agency have a single guiding core? Can we know when we are inhabiting the core rather than some subsidiary agency? If so, how can we know? And this is how I know I haven't been streaming. I can barely talk. I'm losing my voice already. Because I don't talk that much in my daily life. I don't. Okay. If so, how can we know? I think that Nguyen's argument that games provide valuable experiences of clarity could succeed even if there were not such a core, although it seems that the argument might be more challenging. It would be interesting to hear how Nguyen thinks this argument might run for those whose understanding of the metaphysics of agency and the self differ from his. And I completely agree with this. This is part of the things I was arguing for, is that Ivan, welcome in. Thanks for the raid. How you doing? How was your chat? How'd it end up? Yeah, it took you a little while to end up, so yeah, you must have been good. What's up, no good, Nick? And as always, if you need to raid and run, please feel free to do so. Ivan, we'll give Ivan a shout out. Yeah, if anyone here doesn't know Ivan's he streams discussion like here, talks rationality, science. Thanks for the subscription, man. 20 months. Yeesh. Quality scenes. Thank you. Thank you for the
quality scenes.
Yeah. Hi, for all you people who are raiding in from Ivan's. If you don't know me, I'm Noah. You can call me Noger, Noguday, Nogudeo. I have someone who calls me Nogjiri. I have someone else who calls me No. I don't actually care. Don't be mean about it. I stream philosophy. I read philosophy papers and we discuss them here. That's what we're in the middle of. We are discussing this is a book review of Games as Agency, The Art of Agency. So this is a streamer favorite, CT Nguyen. We're talking about what do we have to do when we like play games or enter into like different like sort of arbitrary goal states. How like can we do that? And what's the point of playing a game? And the point of playing a game is to try out different kinds of lives and have different kinds of skills than we might otherwise have in our daily life. So it's good. Yeah, how'd the rest of the stream go, Ivan? Or raid and run, whatever. Cool, just let me know. But yeah. Feel free to ask questions along the way. It's my first time reading this. I usually don't know as much about the topic as I do this time. This time I do know a little bit more than I usually do. I actually saw the author that is being discussed here in December. He came through New York. He was giving a talk at NYU, and I went to NYU, and I heard him talk. He was really good. And I asked him a question. He didn't like my question. Then I asked him another question. He did like that question. I literally talked to this guy last month. So yeah, that's great, Ivan. Stream was good. Lots of fun questions from the gang. Also, you got to crush Hegel, which is always a good vibe. Ivan, let me give you a secret. Don't do it. Hegel will win in the end. Like, Hegel's not as crazy as he comes off. I know you feel good doing it. I'm happy you were able to like lay down the law, but Hegel's gonna like, it's one of those like you think you threw him out of the bar, he's gonna come around back and he'll sneak up on you. What's up, It All Costs Money? How you doing? I was making a joke a while back that Bayesianism is actually techno-Hegelianism. Got to be careful about Hegel. You have to be real fucking careful about Hegel. Techno-Hegelianism. So, yep. The eternal return. Yeah. Hegel is not as crazy as people think. He's just not. I know. He's not so stupid. He really ain't. It's tough. It took me until quite recently, all considering, to understand anything of Hegel. But when I finally did it, I was like, oh, okay, not so dumb. This is why people do it. Yeah. But Hegel needs criticism too. So don't let up, Ivan. You keep at it, maybe you'll be right. Let's see, what have you done?
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to take a minute to wish you all a happy new year and most of all good health. These days, people don't spend much time or thought on some personal words to their friends and family. They just copy and paste some random message and send it on. So after all we've been through together this year, I want to thank you for your friendship and wish you a happy 2018. You are the best gymnastics group anyone could ask for. Best wishes, Bard.
Thank you, Hidal Cosma. I really appreciate those well-wishing of the new year. Yeah, so... Exactly. And that's why we have TTS, because it's funny. Yeah, so one of these days I'll figure out how to explain Hegel better. It's just not so easy. I was talking to a Hegel scholar, I think it was in December, and I said something. She was like, yeah, that's wrong. But like, I was like, yes, but when, like, I explained to Hegel, she was like, it was wrong. I was like, I know it's wrong. I'm saying when Hegel does it, he does it right. And she was like, well, that's acceptable. I was like, it's just, this is how I understand Hegel. It's like, I understand what he's up to in some weird sense, but like, when he does it, like, he knows what he's doing. It's weird. It's a weird fucking philosophy, and that's why people stick with it. But yeah. Anyway, so what we're talking about now is, how is it that we read Popper on Hegelian dialectic and tell me what I think? Okay, I have not read Popper on Hegelian dialectic, but... Hegel's one of these, Hegel's, well, they don't seem to think. They think contradiction is okay. And it's not like a seem. It is okay for them. Like, it's not even seem to think. For Hegel, contradiction is the baseline. For everyone who's confused out there, there is no confusion. Contradiction is fundamental, not consistency. Only through contradiction can you then understand consistency. So you didn't even, like, phrase that in a way that a Hegelian would accept. Didn't Hegel give us emotional support groups in animals? I don't know, did he? But yeah. But I mean, consider the sort of metaphysics you have to do, where to understand what consistency is, you first have to understand a contradiction. That's how he starts. So it's like you start from the contradiction, then you move to consistency. Yeah. The best joke in philosophy? What, me? The thesis, antithesis, yeah, and then, what's it called? Oblation or whatever. It was also Fichte, not really Hegel proper, if you recall correctly. Yeah, he didn't call it that exactly. He called it something else. Yeah. Synthesis, yeah. So for people who don't know Hegel at all, it's more a rhetorical metaphysics. You're looking at how you describe the structure of rhetoric that you use all the time. And so it's going off in a completely different direction than most other things. Not talking about truth. You're talking about the structure of rhetoric and how we are talking about things at all times. And so, yeah, well, we don't have to get into that. You had the collected works of Georg Hegel in the back seat of my car, and some asshole broke in and left 2 more. That's fun. Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to what we were talking about here. And as always, Ivan, if you need to raid and run, go eat some food, take care of yourself, please do so. Okay. So the point here, we can talk about Hegel day and night, but we're talking about games, and what is the point of the games is to get us to take agency that we normally wouldn't have in our daily life. And so here we go. An additional, and we're talking about some of the premises that we need, the assumptions we need, so where games can do this for us. An additional premise that Nguyen relies on is that the world outside of games only rarely provides the opportunity for our capacities to harmonize with our tasks. Yeah, so one of the other things about games is that it gives you clear win conditions, and so that you can do the right thing and then get rewarded. Part of the issue is that it's hard to know what the right thing is in the world, and that's why we like games, because we can know what to do and then we get rewarded. In the world, we might think we know what to do and then we don't get rewarded. Okay. However, those who are sympathetic with, for example, Kant's view of the purposiveness of nature are likely to think that our capacity for judgment is particularly well suited for the task of carrying out the scientific investigation of nature. Setting aside debates about the hospitality of nature to human capacities, I am unsure whether the world of human institutions outside of games is truly so inhospitable to our capacities. We might expect institutions designed by and for humans, aside from games, to often allow us to exercise our capacities in ways that harmoniously fit with the projects that these institutions set up for us. If human institutions fail to provide such opportunities for harmony, we might think this a rather contingent feature of how those institutions are arranged at present. I mean, this person really likes institutions. They seem to think that institutions are working well for us. This person doesn't sound like a millennial. Ivan says, right, and contradiction in antithesis is what leads to the eventual synthesis. So contradiction gets us progress, check. But then if one finds contradiction in Hegel, he just goes, yeah, that's cool, missing the point entirely. It is the elimination of contradiction that gets us progress, not toleration. Again, it's this constant motion forward. You can't be like, progress, yay! It's like, no, we're talking about the rhetoric. The rhetoric fundamentally includes the contradiction. Every time you get more progress, you get more contradictions. You can't separate these things away from, I know you're like, we made progress, that's good. We've got like scientific progress, we have all this cool stuff, I can stream now. I can talk to you in like, you're in Chicago, and you eat things that you think are pizza, and it's very weird and strange to me, and I try to be okay with it, but I'm not. But like we have all this cool stuff we can do, and you're like, well, that's progress. Hegel's just like, yeah, we've got more contradiction now because of all this progress. It's just all wrapped up in the same thing. So it's not you may eliminate one contradiction, but you're just getting yourself back into the same situation again. And so the metaphysics that he has is like, okay, you've eliminated one, but you're just going to get it right back over again. It's the dialectic. You don't get rid of this stuff. It's just part of the way we discuss things. And if you're going to say, well, we stop now because we've got progress, Hegel's going to be like, oh, you're naive. History just continues. Like it will. So you got to realize, like, Hegel's trying to shake it up a little, shake it up. Elimination of contradiction that gets us progress, not toleration. You eliminate one, but you get another. It's like it's the old Mo in the tavern throwing Barney out. Throws Barney out, comes right back around. So yeah, you think it's anti-rational nonsense? That's fair. That's entirely fair. 100% fair. We're not talking about rationality here. And it's not rational, or it's more narrative than rational. You're trying to make a coherent narrative, even where there may not be one. It's like, yeah, you're not wrong, Ivan. You're not wrong. Okay. Yeah. So back to the paper here. The question is, how well are we actually set up to do things in the world? How well does it work out for you? Viper says they should make a video game based on Hegel where you get the game and instead of taking the DVD out of the case, you just painfully shout over your ass sideways. Now for dinner. Okay, yeah. Bon appetit, Ivan. Thanks for the raid. Yeah, some people really like that, Vipers. I was at Christmas dinner at my brother's wife's mother's boyfriend's house, and his daughter used to be an EMT. And she said she picked up a lot of people with stuff stuck up their ass. And inevitably, all of them claim that they slipped and fell on it. And she says there is no way in hell that all of them slipped and fell on it because, it was a joke. Some guy got corn stuck up his ass. And they had to take him to the hospital to get the corn removed from his ass. And so my mom was asking about this. And she was like, were they drunk? And she was like, no. She said the sort of people that they always were taking the hospital with stuff stuck up their ass were the sort of people who were unable to ask for help or look for stuff online. These were people who were not willing to or could not go explore what they wanted to on their own in a safe way. And so it's like, That's who you're dealing with. Those are the people that get stuff stuck up their ass that they weren't supposed to. That's not meant to, and it happens in an unsafe way. So it's like, that's who actually is doing stuff. But like, that there's a video game for this? Sure, but it happens all the time. Yeah, some people do Hagel Black Ops 6 on purpose. Yeah, this game isn't for them. Yeah, so that's the problem. The people who need that game would be the people that could not get that game. Education fixes this? Yeah, in some sense, chocolate. Like, that, if people, were less worried about, like, asking questions like this, or could have a community that would be more open for them to discuss stuff with, would not happen. K-Pars, that's exactly right. Just practicing gymnastics, slipped, fell in the kitchen, salt shaker was on the floor. Like, exactly. So, like, she was saying this happened a lot. A lot. So, this was in South Jersey, so you're talking Jersey Shore types. We're not that far from the Jersey Shore. So, like, you're dealing with, like, Jersey Shore people. They're fun, those folks. I get along with them. Oh, just like another fun story. And I'm sorry if you are a Jordan Peterson fan, but one of the sons, he's like got sort of in the manosphere, Jordan Peterson stuff. And he had this internet girlfriend, and the entire family was like, "You're getting catfished." He's like, "No, she really likes me." And they're like, "Have you ever met her?" They're like, he's like, "Yeah, I've talked to her over like FaceTime or something." And everyone's like, there's really good filters nowadays. You're getting catfished. And he's like, "No, I know what I'm talking about." And guess why that son did not show up? He got into a fight with his girlfriend because she needed money for car repairs to get to the airport to fly to see him. But all of a sudden she needed money for this stuff right when she was about to see him. And everyone's like, "Yep, you're getting catfished." And he's like, "No, you don't understand. I'm the smartest guy. I know all these like smart things." Oh my God, they were roasting that guy so bad. So bad. Drone County, yeah, people were joking about that. But really, that's not really. They were joking about that because it's Jersey. But we were too far south. The drones are actually closer to me. Up north, northern Jersey. So it was like, this guy thought he was the cleverest guy in the room. Thought he knew all the smart stuff. It's like, dude, you're like the biggest sucker out of everyone. Should have taught him about the Jungian archetype of the catfish. Yeah, like, this was like, it was hilarious. And this guy ain't no young spring chicken. He had an 18-year-old daughter that was there because she's at her grandpa's house. That's who we're at. And so it's like she was like fucking roasting him worse than everyone else. I was talking with like his sisters and like brothers, and like they were giving him shit. And then the fucking daughter chimes in, and we fucking started dying. It was bad, like really bad. The trolls put away the drones and got out the fog machines. Yeah, but like, yeah, I mean, all the drone stuff has been like, almost all of it's been obviously planes that people didn't look up the flight paths for, or just like, regular drones that like idiots were flying around. It's like, it's just a pain in the ass. There might be like 1 or 2 military drones or whatever that they were testing that got caught, but like, we're talking no deals. Oh, the drones are seeding the fog. Ooh, they're crop dusting us. Okay, yeah, sure. Why would they even bother? They just use regular planes for that. Like, what would be the point of using a drone? Unless you're getting, like, you think they're specifically gassing some folks, like, just God. But, like, yeah. For the most part, I get along with them. That's, like, a pretty smart family. So, like, it's fun. Drones sound scary. If you don't know what's happening in the New York, New Jersey area, not too far from me, there's a lot of drone activity. But people are losing their minds. They have like, shitty phones or whatever. They're filming lights in the sky, and they don't see what it is, but it's like a fucking plane or whatever. It's just people are, doing the hysteria thing. That's all it is. Okay. Anyway, getting back to the fucking thing. What's up, Casey? How you doing? What's up? You love this pic because it shows UFOs are an anglosphere phenomenon. Oh, that's cool. W. Casey is a streamer, and he's a good streamer. He was playing Noida earlier, and he plays Noida a lot, actually. But welcome in, Casey. How you been? Like, yeah, chilling, yeah. I'll give Casey a shout out. Another person, if you want to sit around chatting with the streamer, go hang out with Casey. Casey's like a sound designer or something, music guy. So it's like, yeah, he knows, talk like audio stuff with him. And he's smart dude, so chilling. So yeah, and we were just laughing about the drones you have in Jersey because he's from this area too. What do we got here? Vipers. Let's see if I'm gonna get banned from this. Oh, yes, reported UFO sightings. Who are the idiots in the world? That would be us. That's right. Everyone else doesn't give a fuck. Yep. So yeah, you still have not seen one? Yeah, me neither. That are particularly bored employee in a very one trick assembly line job. Yeah. Oh yeah, like you think a zombie animal controlled by another animal. Yeah, none of this shit happens. It's crazy. Like people are just bored and they have nothing to do and they have technology they don't understand, like planes and shit flying around with like their cell phones and they take videos. But yeah, so thanks for stopping in, Casey. Appreciate you coming by and seeing the ridiculous things I get myself up to, like reading philosophy and trying to explain it in real time. But yeah, so anyone who doesn't know, we're talking about Games as the Art of Agency is a book by C.T. Nguyen, and it's part of like what are you doing when you play a game? Or for that matter, speaking of music, and Prof was here earlier. Prof writes on philosophy of music. Prof would say, when you join a band, you have an intention to be like together, to do something in a group. So if you are playing music together, you are taking on a particular agency, the agency of the band. The band has the agency to want to play certain music and act in a certain way. And so that's actually what you're doing when you're playing music, is you are taking on the agency of the band itself. So that's also a related thing here. What's up, Frank Haben? Emote as a group. Yes, exactly. So you're emoting as a group. But again, what is it to emote? It's to have a certain kind of agency that emotes in a certain way. I mean, to emote is to have an agency that can emote. Aloha, yes. Yeah, mahalo. So that's actually an interesting thing. I wonder if anyone has brought that up. I expect CT Nguyen, he said this somewhere. He must know. But yeah, if you were gonna have playing music like playing a game, why is playing music fun? Why is playing music fun? Is because you are taking on the agency of the author of the music. You're playing the emotion. You're emoting in the way that the band, the original author, or the music kind of presents. Okay. Thank you, Frank, for the getting the clarification. Okay, we might think that in a different but not too distant social and political world, we could find the world less alien and could, to use Nguyen's examples, find all that is involved in forming a romantic partner or becoming a professional philosopher less onerous and distasteful. Yeah, I mean, have you seen dating apps? They suck mostly. So it's like you think they're trying to gamify that and it helps sometimes. But again, that also kind of sucks. So the idea that this person's saying, oh, it could be better, it's kind of undermining their point. KPARs, intentional coordinated public action or interpersonal more than public. Yeah. But that is kind of what's going on here. You play games with other people. You could call a game an intentional coordinated public action too, like playing basketball. That would be a intentional coordinated public action. So I think it works. Author says, I do not think that Nguyen would necessarily disagree with this thought. As he points out, games might provide greater opportunities for agential harmony than can governments, since games can simply stipulate an end that their players must achieve to win, while governments committed to liberal neutrality seek to avoid setting ends for their citizens. But is this a point in favor of the unique ability of games to provide opportunities for the harmonious exercise of our agential capacities, or is a strike against liberal neutrality? I hope that Nguyen will explore this question in future work. That's an interesting question. Should we gamify government? Is that a viable political theory? I don't know. Yeah, and that's also part of why this is a little bit silly. I think the point is good, but Vipers is correctly laughing at it. Government's committed to liberal neutrality. Yeah, right. But should we gamify government work? Maybe that is a strategy. And that doesn't matter if they're committed to liberal neutrality either. But yeah. Isn't that what the social credit system is? Yeah, so maybe that's actually a good point, that it's a fucking terrible idea. China has a social credit system. Here in the US, you have your bank credit score, which is basically the same fucking thing to get access to the financial system. So it's like, yeah, maybe gamifying it, or at least putting the gamification in the hands of people who should not be setting the rules is a terrible fucking idea. Yeah. So, but maybe it could be done better. And maybe if we were, going at it by understanding what we were doing, we could do a better job. If it was put in place in sort of governmental stuff. Like, say you actually had like fantasy football. Like there's fantasy Congress. How many bills does your congressperson get passed? Or how many things do they actually do? Maybe you could gamify who was the best or most effective senator. And there are things like this. So maybe in certain capacities, it's not a terrible idea. Viper says, yeah, keep the gamification concept in ludology, not behavioral economics. Fair. I mean, this just sounds dangerous. I mean, that's really what this sounds like. It's like, this is putting theory into practice that we don't quite understand yet. And that is a recipe for getting results we do not understand. So it's like, that's not good policy. Okay. Yeah, so this is a little worrisome on this author. They had to say something in this paper, but this is maybe not the best idea from them. There's one further aspect of Nguyen's argument that I find difficult. Nguyen argues that games are particularly good at encoding clear forms of agency, and that most games encode this sort of agency because it enables them to satisfy our desire for experiences of agental harmony. However, Nguyen also argues that games enhance our autonomy by providing us with exposure to a wider variety of agencies that we would otherwise encounter, and familiarity with more agental modes enables us to engage with the world more effectively. Kapar says, I still think specifying an end goal for citizens to achieve as a higher purpose sounds 20th century. Yes. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. It does. I don't know. Like, this is always, I say, one of my deficiencies. I don't really do political philosophy, so I don't have very smart things to say about this. But yeah, I mean, we had these like great space races back in the day, and that seemed like a fun thing for the country to do. Try to get ourselves to the moon, beat them like crazy Russians to outer space. And that collapsed in the 90s with the collapse of the Soviet Union. So maybe this was all just a fantasy anyway. Yeah. Viper says, on the flip side, a rising tide raises all ships. I agree that implementing policy when you don't really understand it is a terrible idea. So there may be good ideas here, but it's just not... it's like maybe in limited circumstances. Now it's just who can make the most nukes. Well, we always had we were talking about this a little earlier too, in terms of AI. It's escalation. Like there's bots and there's AI things, and it's just escalation. We're just escalating who has dominance in different spheres of like technology. And so, yeah, we're back to just the escalation between, tech. It's a tech escalation race. That's what we're in. Chocolate says, so games are less well specified. Well, the idea is that you can specify things in games. Yeah, the only winning move is not to play war games. Yeah, the Whopper. But again, it's like that works with mutually assured destruction, where both sides is going to blow each other up. I mean, nowadays we're dealing with computational supremacy, like quantum AI, the quantum computing and the artificial intelligence. And the idea is that like one side's just going to increase technology much faster if they get ahead a little bit. So it's like, well, that's not going to kill people. It might kill the earth, but it's not going to kill people like nukes will, but we'll see. Yeah, prisoner's dilemma. So this is part of the difficulty, is that no one really understands the future of the tech at the moment. It's a little bit up in the air. And so the idea that we're applying the same theories of the games and the technology to politics, maybe that's a smart idea, but who the fuck knows, really? Mineshaft gap? What's mineshaft gap? But yeah. But like, yeah, I mean, that's just it. Just all the stuff that's going on in this paper. Trying to, like, you know, reapply these ideas in other areas. Okay, so yeah, Gentle modes enables to engage with the world more effectively. The more experiences you have, even in a video game, the idea is that it will give you more stuff to fall back on in your daily life. Chocolate says basically the US and USSR being competitive over stuff that doesn't matter. Oh, okay, yeah. You know, I mean, the fact that we were like, you know, we go to the Olympics. I mean, who's better on the balance beam is no great, like, you know, like, it's really cool to have good gymnasts. Like, it's great. But in the grand scheme of countries, what does that actually matter? I don't know. Not a whole lot, I guess. But like, yeah, Dr. Strangelove, yeah. The movie. But we're using this as a proxy so we don't kill each other. That's really what it was. I remember people saying, you know, we the native tribes of the North America would play lacrosse, and they did that in some sense to, like, not kill each other at war. They play lacrosse, and then, like, if they were getting their ass kicked at lacrosse, it's like, maybe we shouldn't go to war with these people. So it was a proxy. And so it's like, you know, it's not always the dumbest thing to, like, have intermediate steps. The Olympics is just the UN by different means. I mean, yes, who has the most money and power and, like, resources can, of course, put more money and power and resources into developing athletes. So, sure. But, you know, I always like the countries that have, like, they're really good at one thing. Like, you know, what is it? Is it the Dutch and the speed racing? So I'm always impressed. I'm like, I want to go see the Dutch speed race. It's cool. I want an Olympics where random citizens are selected in the lottery and forced to compete. Yeah, that's always great to see, just the random person trying to keep up with, like, those, like, unbelievable sprinters and stuff. Or, like, I've seen a hurdle in real life. I'm like, there's no chance I can jump over a hurdle. Like, I could run. The idea that I can run and jump, like, hell no. I just run into the fucking thing. All right. Author says, I worry that the library of agencies to which games give us access might skew heavily in the direction of forms of agency that provide us with clear values. I am hesitant to think that exposing ourselves to such a skewed archive of agencies will really enhance our autonomy. It might instead systematically push us in the direction of seeking greater value clarity and make us less familiar with more unclear forms of agency than we would be if we never played games. Yeah, so they're saying, look, you might have a whole repertoire of agency that you have, but your repertoire is terrible. If all the games you're playing are dating sims, it's not going to help you in your daily life if you're trying to date, like, you know, high school kids in Japan. Like, that's a terrible idea. So maybe the video games aren't helping you. But again, that's on the person. That's not on the games themselves. If you are only playing Doki Doki Literature Club, then that's a different issue than if you play, like, a variety of games. Okay. Whether this sort of influence can undermine autonomy is a hotly debated question in ethics and political philosophy, and there is much that Nguyen might say to alleviate this concern. But it would be worth further exploring the relationship between the autonomy-enhancing feature of games and their tendency towards value clarity. Yeah, so if you just are trying to, like, get easy wins, or, like, you're only playing games that, like, don't help you in any, that have, they're too niche, then, like, you know, does it really help at all? Okay. Finally, it's worth noting that throughout games, Nguyen works with Bernard Suit's definition of games. Kapar says, I wonder what this reviewer would say about games like the Stanley Parable. Yeah, so this reviewer has been focusing on political and social things. So, you know, I don't, like, they do seem to have a particular bent in their review. Or Bashi, yeah. So, Casey's a Bashi, I believe. So, Casey is the Bashi. Yeah, so, like, I don't know, Casey, if you realize, I used to play Minesweeper. I played Minesweeper a lot. That is, I would say, not very different from playing Bashi. So, yeah, Casey's the Bashi. Anyone who here doesn't know, Bashi is an extremely difficult game, like extreme difficulty, and it's like something to have won that. Not all games are just tic-tac-toe, exactly, K-Pars. So it's like, I know what it is to play a basically pointless game, but like, why do I play it is because you get really good at logic really fast. Like, it's a logic game. Like, that's why I played it. I was good at logic, and you go really fast, you get even better at it. And so, like, what would this reviewer say about like puzzle games like that, or like Bashi, where you have to beat your head against the wall, die tens of thousands of times possibly just to get through? Well, it teaches perseverance maybe, but like this review has nothing to do with that. Yeah, that's true. Stanley and others are reacting to games, so it will never be the main stream, else we would not know what they are trying to talk about. Yeah. Viper says, given the opportunity, players will optimize the fun out of a game. Therefore, one of the responsibilities of designers is to protect the players from themselves. That's right. So you will get optimization nutcases who will like have spreadsheets and like do all the math, and they'll turn it into a math problem. And it's like, unless you're like me and who just like playing Minesweeper, like that's not the experience intended. So if you were trying to get someone to like hey, let's say, hey, Frank. So if you're trying to get someone to have the experience of the game that you want them to do, then you have to prevent them from being able to optimize away from that experience. Why would you come for you like that? Okay, yeah. Oh, sorry, Frank's an optimizer. Hey, nothing against, if you want to play the game that way and you have fun, go right ahead. Like, I'm not against that, but the game designer wants to have you would have certain experiences, and if you're not having it, well, you can have your fun, but that's not the fun that they wanted you to have. So it's like they are trying to force you to have their fun, not your fun in some sense. Like, so it's like, yeah, if you don't need a spreadsheet for a game, it's not a fun game. What can I tell you? I don't think you need a spreadsheet for Tetris. People like Tetris. People like Minesweeper, but like, yes. But like, yeah. Oh, that's what playing Path of Exile is like. Yeah. So it's like, but like, the fun is playing the game and then also optimizing. You gotta do both. If it just becomes a math problem, well, then go play with math. Like, you know? Or just setting an AI on it. Sort of fun to see what comes up with. Yes. But again, that's a different experience than you playing the game. You are not taking on the agency, which is kind of the theme of this, the book, is that you are participating in the world under the rules of the world. You are not trying to hack the game. Hacking the game is also fun, though. Like optimizing, yeah, EVE Online. Yeah, so there's a million games like that where they get you to optimize in the way that the game expects, and then you get rewarded in the game for optimizing, but that's part of the game experience, and that's cool. The question is that, like, are you having the fun that you like, or are you playing the game and having the fun that is like kind of participating in the game? So it's like, that's part of the issue. Frank says the skin of the game is important. The math can't be direct, or as you say, it's just math. But if you only access math through the skin, it's abstraction practice. Yes, exactly. So there's still something that you have to take as like ontologically in the game world that you're interacting with as something in the game world. Because if it just becomes math, then you're only doing the math. That's right. Rule the Waves 3 for the real spreadsheets enjoyers. Yeah. I don't know these games, but yeah. But, I mean, that's part of the game. Like Bashi we were just talking about. That's not a game you can spreadsheet. It's just it's a platformer. That's it. So it's like, are you going to optimize the hell out of a platformer? All you're doing is jumping and shooting. So, yeah. Okay. So, Bernard Suit's definition of games. For Suit, quote, a game is the voluntary attempt to overcome unnecessary obstacles, end quote. On this definition, a very wide variety of activities could count as games if they were pursued in the right way, including business administration, jurisprudence, and philosophy. One of the great strengths of Nguyen's book is the multitude of highly textured examples of games and play that he provides. However, almost all of Nguyen's examples are activities that we call games in our ordinary language. Computer games, team sports, solo sports, board games, card games, party games, tabletop role-playing games, and live-action role-playing games. What about poker, Go, Monopoly, stock market? I mean, you could definitely optimize all of those things. Part of the issue in poker, of course, is bluffing, which is something very hard to optimize because you're dealing with interpersonal psychology. Go, I mean, that's now solved, I believe, or no, it's not solved, but the computers are better than us at it. Same with the chess. Monopoly, I don't know what like the strategy is, but like, again, I think that would work. And the stock market, you can treat that like an economic game. And that's what day traders do. Like they're trying to do that, but then you're also dealing with psychology. Like, are people afraid? Are they booming and busting? What's going on there? So like those can be treated as games in different ways. I mean, yeah. So again, also depends on how wide a definition of game you're using. If you're talking game theory, then that's just the arbitrary assignment of values to like complex systems. And that, covers basically everything. Monopoly was designed to be poorly balanced to illustrate the faults of capitalism. Yeah, and that's why it's a funny game, because people play it and they're like, yeah, I won, but then it's also, you've destroyed everything else. Everyone else completely loses. Yeah. All right. Despite the focus of Nguyen's examples, I take nothing that he says to preclude his account from encompassing, say, the activity of philosophy when it is pursued as a Seussian game in the mode of striving play. For readers who are intrigued by Nguyen's argument, but who are simply put off by the thought of games, it may be a helpful exercise to contemplate how Nguyen's account might incorporate examples of activities that involve the voluntary attempt to overcome unnecessary obstacles aside from those we label as games in ordinary language. Yeah. So I actually agree with this. I don't think Nguyen's definition and Suit's definition is correct, because it is a little bit wide. If you're just talking about like games that we ordinarily play, I think other things can be treated as games too, but like that's a question of like, where do you want to draw the line between what counts as a game and what doesn't, and that's a very sort of vague sort of notion. All right. So all right, now we're finishing up. Nguyen's book is lively, provocative, and immensely rich. It includes important treatment of topics in aesthetics, for instance, its discussion of process arts and ethics, such as its full discussion of layered agency that this review has barely touched on. In my view, Games is undoubtedly the most important philosophical monograph on games since Suit's 1978 The Grasshopper, Games, Life, and Utopia. It also makes important contribution to aesthetics, more broadly, ethics, and political philosophy. It is a delight to read. Okay, and my voice is starting to go, but what we do now is we rate this. I have gamified philosophy. That's one of the things I do here. We now get to rate philosophy and make it and give it a stupid number at the end of it, because that's what we do. We ruin things by gamifying them. So, if you thought this paper had fun ideas, made your brain dance, you put in a brain dance. And I do apologize. You need to like spell and capitalize correctly. You can just copy it from the chat if you don't. Nog Scream if you think it had existential or artistic drama. I mean, this does talk about aesthetics. Or Nog Oro for the Ouroboros for deep ancient ideas. Nog Knife, slicing and dicing arguments. Nog Navel gazing only for academics. Nog Turd, all style no substance, poop underneath. Nog Grapes for big claims that shrivel up. You can also use the global vote yay, vote nay, and vote meh. And as I was saying earlier, anything in the green kind of pushes the score up. Anything in the red pushes it down. And the vote meh actually pushes the score towards the middle. I do make a score up over this. A solid 5 out of 7. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't actually use the numbers. You do kind of like, yeah, meh, yeah, exactly. So that will put it somewhere between, the middle and a high score. So I appreciate that. Can we vote present? I missed a lot and we want to skew. It doesn't matter. Chocolate. This is Twitch. It doesn't matter. Like, the idea that these are official ratings. You can vote present if you want, but like, what you can do is just vote a meh. If you like, it'll give it a meh rating. But like, it's up to you. Thank you, Casey, for the knife. You thought it had some nice argumentation. What am I gonna say? They tried hard to like give some criticisms. Everyone likes this book. Like, everyone likes this book. So it's hard for people to be like, no, it was bad. They try to give a little bit of the, okay, I'll fix that later. No good, Nick. If it doesn't work, it's vote yay is with no H. Yeah. Made for great chats. Yeah. This is one of these things. This was a review of the book. Thank you. No good, Nick. This was a review of a book. These tend to be a little bit more descriptive and less like argumentative. So you do get like a survey, which is nice, but sometimes it also means it, they didn't say as much also. So it's like, I'm going to give it a vote yay. It seemed like fine. I'm going to give it a nog scream too for the, yeah. I'm also going to give it a vote meh. So yeah, I'm going to do one of these because a yay, a scream, and a meh, it's about aesthetics. I wasn't particularly impressed with the argumentation. Like, it was fine. But I think people in chat pointed out, like, the idea that we just apply gamification to politics seems very scary, and it didn't take long for chat to realize exactly how scary that might be. The other stuff was like, it was okay, the argumentation, but like, yeah, it's not the greatest paper. This was just a solid review. Yeah, give it a brain mostly because it was a conversation starter, and that's fair, like completely fair. So, so yeah, if you want to get your scores in, get in now, and then we'll give it a raid. It wasn't bad. It was just an inoffensive paper for the most part. Yeah, and it's a book review. Like, again, like, that's what these things are. It's trying to... where is this? This is in a good philosophy journal about an important book that everyone seems to like. So it's like, they are going to they're not going to criticize it like to high hell, because that would just be weird. It'd be like an outlier. If they were going to criticize it to high hell, it wouldn't be in the book review. They'd write up a rebuttal piece under their own name, not as a book review, and do stuff like that. But like, yeah, it's just this part of what it is. Like, I almost gave it a nog navel, but it doesn't deserve that. You didn't catch the paper and didn't want to taint the ratings. As always, I say, if you are here at the end, you're free to do so. Like, this is not so serious, but like, yeah, some of the ratings are very skewed, and that's okay. Like, the ratings that's how things are. But that's fine. I appreciate you participating and paying attention for what you were here for. So thank you.